Hi, my name is Chris, and I am going to talk about decolonizing and how I think I have been a little bit unclear before when I talk about it. Because the question is, what is colonization? And colonization, politically speaking, like officially speaking, is the political takeover of a different sovereign nation, right? But what happens post-colonially, like after this period of time when we are no longer officially colonized, but like inside we're still really, really attached to the ideas that colonialism has ingrained in us. Because let's face it, without sugarcoating anything, colonialism here in the global south has very much changed the way we think, the way we see ourselves, the way we perceive the world. And to decolonize doesn't necessarily mean, we have to erase everything that happened in the last 500 years and go back to being pre-colonial. That's not realistic. But it does mean that we have to think and see past the current paradigms that we are sitting in within the colonial and currently capitalist global system that is hegemonic right now. When I say hegemonic, I mean in power. it is what is currently kind of controlling everything, including the information systems that we're using and the entertainment that we consume. And hell, even the way we dress. Fashion trends are, in a manner of speaking, yes, a historical construct. Yes, other cultures, aside from Western European, North American cultures, have created fashion trends. But the current ones that we have, and I'm just speaking about fashion, but this can be applied in other ways as well, the current ones that we have are very much influenced by a history of Westernization. And just to be clear, the West isn't evil per se. Like, you can't just walk up to a white person and say, hey, you're bad because you are yourself. That would be as bad as that same white person saying you're bad because you're a brown person and you are yourself. It's just not, that's just not okay. But the ways that we've been influenced, the ways that Western hegemony has affected the ways that we think, see the world, and interact with the world, has material effects. It also has a material effect on our ecosystems. And I think this is the one that really, really, really gets my goat. Climate change is a colonial effect. The entire history of this current run of anthropogenic, that is human-made climate change, and people suffering from like 27-30 typhoons a year, which happened here, by the way, is a direct effect of the Industrial Revolution, which is a direct effect of the colonial experience, which is a direct effect of the spread of Western European hegemony throughout the globe. And to say otherwise would be, frankly, just willful blindness. And so what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that decolonizing means looking for something different than the current colonial capitalist hegemony. It means thinking past the structures, the architecture that colonial hegemony has created in our minds. And I am speaking here, of course, I'm speaking of us, as us from the global south. Because when we speak to folks from, say, indigenous folks in Turtle Island or on Aotearoa, they have a different conversation about land. But us, those of us who have been exploited materially, but not necessarily erased, like displaced and eradicated completely the way that they had been, we have to come to terms with the fact that we carry inside us the legacy of colonialism, but that we also carry inside us the seeds of what colonialism is not. And the trauma of the colonial experience, which I know we haven't directly experienced it per se, like, you know, some Spanish person didn't come in and kick me out of my house and say, now you have cholera. That didn't happen to me. You know, they didn't say, I will burn everything you have to the ground because they're satanic. Like that didn't happen to me. That did happen to my ancestors. But that trauma is carried in our epigenetics. It's carried in our bones, in our genes, and in our memories. The memories that have been colored by the fact that we, as brown people, as people who have been colonized, now need to live up to the standards of Western civilization. And we really need to start thinking about how to create our own standards. We need to see past, again, the architecture, the structures that colonial capitalist hegemony has created inside of us, and tried to tell us what is and is not. We need to go out there and fucking touch grass. I mean, yes, okay, that meme is itself the product of North American memeing, I guess would be the term. But there is a kernel of truth in it. To go out and touch grass, to go out and not be in the solipsism of trying to live up to Western standards, means to go out and directly interact with the world, with our communities, with our ecosystems. We need to interact directly with our ecosystems in particular, because we are forgetting that we are just animals. Like, for many non-Western cultures, humans are part of the ecosystem. And we need to remember that if we are ever to start decolonizing the hierarchies that Western hegemony has created in our heads. We are part of this world. We are not above it. We are not superior to it. We are not created by God to be better than everyone else. I am just as important as the cow that had been slaughtered to make the burger I ate yesterday. And that creates a profound humility. That creates a profound sense of connection that we no longer have. That has been severed by, again, colonial capitalist hegemony. The ways that we've been separated and, like, you know, sort of classified and homogenized and boxed into the categories of what the West thinks should be. And development, for instance, is incommensurate with the ways that we can think past the colonial capitalist hegemony controlling our minds. I know that this is pretty theoretical sounding. So to bring it back down to earth, to bring it back down to the body, it is about not needing to look in the mirror, but instead feeling into that body, feeling into who you are, and saying, okay, now I'm going to go out and try and directly interact with, say, my dog who is my friend, but is also perceiving the world in a profoundly different way from me. And because of the way that she has been bred and evolved alongside me, now needs me as a companion as much as I need her as psychological support. It's just one example. But even looking at, for instance, rice, because I'm in Asia, I'm Asian, I'm Filipino, and we eat rice with every meal. But to look at a single stalk, a rice stalk, with those little, we call it palay, the little rice seeds in their little seed sacks, seed casings, to pay attention to that and to see into the world that rice has, how it relates to the ecosystem around it. It doesn't have to be intellectual. You can fucking cry about rice if you want. It's fine. But it is about seeing past rice as a resource and understanding that rice is so much a part of our lives as people who eat rice every day, who plant rice, who have been conditioned to understand rice as part of our lives. We have to sort of come to terms with the fact in ways that may not necessarily jive with things that, for example, the International Rice Research Institute would purport. All this to say that decolonizing means refusing the categories, the restrictions, and the mental architecture created by colonial hegemony. It means working on identifying where we are colonized and slowly, steadily, physically breaking that down inside of us. What that can mean is different for everybody, but this is not a metaphor. This has political, physical, environmental effects. Once we have a different relationship to the world, once we have a different relationship to each other, we can then understand and interact with the world in a different way. And yes, it may not necessarily look like going out to the streets and protesting. It might mean mutual aid. It might mean actually showing up when your friend says, hey, I'm having a really rough day. Could you help me out a little bit? I know that these are little things. These are such tiny, granular things. But inside those little things are bigger interactions that create meaning, that create a world beyond the colonial capitalist hegemony that we need to nurture, because the seeds are already inside of us. We just need to see them grow. And that's it for me. If you want to support my work, check out christinamsaison.com/support, and please, fucking free Palestine, free Sudan, free the Congo, free Turtle Island, free Hawaii, free Aotearoa. Just search for freedom inside of yourself and fight for freedom everywhere you see it and need it. Take care.